You're a hard-working, time-pressed professional. I do understand that. If I ask you, I'm sure you'd tell me your clients are not actively engaged in money laundering or criminal activity. So why is AML your problem? Why are you having to worry about this? Why are you having to spend your time and your money, more importantly, on dealing with AML issues? This podcast series is going to talk you through the background of AML, the purpose of it, and to help you to understand what you need to do to stay on top of AML. That's the most important thing. And if, for example, you haven't started your AML work yet for your business and you're trying to work out what you do next, or maybe you've been a little bit unsure of what to do to take yourself to the right place, then that's what we're going to help you with. We're going to help you through the process. We can help you through the steps to make you feel confident for AML to become intuitive for you rather than the slightly uncomfortable feeling that a lot of people seem to have around the topic of AML. A lot of people seem a bit nervous of it, but actually, it's actually very natural, it's very logical, and it's really just an extension of what you do day to day. So, we're going to work with that to help you with that. So, we're going to prepare you to be ready to deal with a situation where your client might turn out to be involved in criminal activity in some way. And please don't forget that they could be involved as a victim. They may not be the perpetrator, they could be coerced, they could be forced into doing certain things. So don't think that the person you know the best, that you're convinced will never be involved in money laundering or criminal activity, won't in some way get involved because they don't even know they're having taken advantage of, they don't even know they've been involved in something. So be careful of that. So we'll hope you to get ready for that. We'll hope you to get ready for a situation where you might have an inspection from your AML supervisor, because you're probably aware, generally there's an AML supervisor involved in the regulated sector, and they will come and have a visit and review what you're doing. Similarly, you could have a visit from law enforcement, and that's a real thing as well. This is a real thing from my experience, real thing from the work we do. Hello, by the way, I'm Richard Sims. I am a chartered accountant in the UK here, and also an insolvency practitioner. I've run a professional practice for over 20 years. Since 2007, we were regulated for AML when AML became a thing in the UK here. I'm based in the UK. So it's been quite a few years been doing this. And back in 2008, just after regulation started, I was the creator of amlcc.com. So again, we have an awful lot of experience of helping people in the professional sectors to make sure they know what to do for their AML. And that's what it's all about. So today, this is the first of the series. We're going to talk about a really important topic, because this is one of the most confused areas actually, which is what is money laundering? What is money laundering? Now, this gets a bit confused here, so we have to sort of start from the beginning to make sense of this. So we have to distinguish here between the process of laundering money and the technical definition of money laundering. I'll tie these together for you, so don't be too alarmed by this just yet. Technical definition of AML and the process of laundering money, the process of money laundering. So, technical definition sits back at proceeds of crime. It's that simple, okay? If criminal activity is undertaken, it generates a proceed, it's going to end up doing something with that proceed, is going to be money laundering. So just hold with me the logic of this for a minute, because if a criminal cannot benefit from their criminal activity because they can't benefit from the proceeds of that criminal activity, you can see why the law in wherever your country is going to want to stop criminals making it easy for them to benefit from that criminal activity. So that's the basic principle there. The law is going to stop criminals from being able to benefit from the proceeds of their criminal activity. So the law will say any criminal activity, the proceeds of the criminal activity, making, doing anything, holding, buying, selling, whatever you want to call it, doing anything with those proceeds of crime is going to be money laundering. Okay, it's going to be illegal. It's going to be illegal, so criminals cannot benefit from that criminal activity. Hope that makes some sense. Just think about that as a criminal activity. The law will say you should not be able to benefit from that criminal activity, and therefore that becomes illegal to try and benefit from that. And the money laundering technical definition is basically doing anything with proceeds of crime will be illegal. Okay. Then we look at the processes you might see what people do. You'll see them in the movies. You'll see them in the newspapers. You might be talked about all sorts of processes to talk to you. Might talk to you about smurfing, where people take their proceeds of cash and they get lots of people deposit those money into different bank accounts so they can process and filter them through those bank accounts to get the benefit out. But we need to talk a lot about, I say, the process of money laundering, because the fact that you're listening to this now suggests to me that your sector has been identified as an area where it is believed that money laundering is attractive. Your sector is attractive to criminals to launder money through. So the fact we're having this conversation means that you are in a sector, no doubt, where you are thinking, I'm in a sector that's AML regulated. It's regulated because, not just in your country, but globally, people believe that criminals are attracted to your sector to launder money. Okay, so there's the process. The process is the process of trying to benefit from that criminal activity. Technical definition: here is the law that stops that being legal to benefit from that. So there's the law saying you mustn't do it; it's illegal. And then the process of how people launder money is what you might talk about separately. And people talk about placement and layering. It gets a bit overcomplicated, the process sometimes, because it's the simple thing of a criminal saying, right, I've got my process, I've done my crime. I'm not saying it's a good thing, by the way. I've undertaken a crime, I've generated some proceeds from that. How do I benefit from it? What they're about to do is going to be money laundering, that process of trying to benefit from that. So we just jump back a sec and say, right, so if I'm a criminal, there's a couple of things I might want to do, a couple of very sort of general considerations of how I might want to work it. And that's going to be basically saying, right, I might want to distance myself as the person who undertook that crime or orchestrated the crime from the proceeds. And to do that, I might want to use a third-party nominee. I might want to get involved with a very complicated structure of companies and trust, and perhaps involve a third country that doesn't have a strong level of AML compliance, doesn't have a disclosure of ownership of companies, for example. You'll have seen much of this stuff over the last 5, 6, 7 years. Panama Papers, for example, where Panamanian law firm leaked out all the people that owned the companies that they were acting for. There was like a who's who list of criminals and very well-known people who'd gone in there to hide their companies, hide their ownership of certain assets. I'm not saying they're necessarily illegal, but the point is there, if you look at a chain down Company A, Company B, Company C is held in a country with no disclosure requirements, and then it comes back into your country, for example, it's trying to basically obfuscate the term, trying to block the transparency of seeing who actually is the owner of that process. And that's why when we talk about AML, we'll talk a lot about beneficial ownership, etc., and identifying who is the true owner of an asset. So if I'm a criminal, I might want to distance myself from ownership of it, or I might try and find the simplest possible way of getting to a situation where people don't realize those assets are actually proceeds of crime. So I might try and integrate them into another company. I might try and take them through a certain process whereby the asset appears to be legitimate, because I might be able to find myself, I say this very carefully, I might find myself a property agent and a solicitor, a lawyer, for example, who's going to help me to buy a property for X £100,000, for example, with a bit of help from the solicitor, a bit of help from the property agent. I hold that asset then for 2 or 3 years, get some rental income maybe during that time. Then I sell it in a few years' time. Suddenly the money I get back from the property sale is just a normal property sale. It came from my solicitor. Why should I be worried about that? Why would anyone else be worried about that? And so that is, of course, assuming either that solicitor, that lawyer, and that property agent either didn't realise they were acting on behalf of a criminal, or they didn't realise the funds were illegal proceeds of crime, or worst case, they were helping on purpose. Let's hope that's not the case. But you can see there where actually, very simply, very simple example, where professionals can be super helpful here. That's why those sectors, legal, property, real estate, accountancy again, that's why they're in there. And that's why you have something like high value dealership, art market, etc., where people can buy assets for money, for cash, for value, and then move them around, convert them, and put themselves in a situation when suddenly, when they sell them, it looks like legitimate proceeds of crime. Sorry, it looks like legitimate proceeds. Start again. Looks like legitimate proceeds, not proceeds of crime. That's what we're trying to do. Move away from proceeds of crime into legitimate proceeds. I hope that makes some sense. Let's go back to the very beginning just very quickly. Hope this all makes sense so far. Technical definition of money laundering. Basically trying to stop people, criminals, from benefiting from criminal activity. So money laundering is defined doing pretty much anything to do with trying to benefit from those proceeds of crime. Then there's a process of money laundering people undertake to try and get around, get through the systems, for the law, to allow themselves to benefit from that criminal activity in a way that no one notices. It sounds a bit silly, doesn't it, really? But it is that no one notices they're doing it. And that's why your sector, my sector, all these sectors are regulated for AML so that you're on your toes. You're looking out for this. So, as I said before, if you're not ready for AML yet, or you haven't done your AML enough yet, don't panic. We can help you. If you want to get in touch, we're always happy to help you to understand what you need to do and take you through the steps you need to do it. But the key thing here is this is not an impossible task for you. This is something that you can do. It is really just an extension of your day-to-day stuff. But again, we're going to work through a number of podcasts going forward now to try and lay out to you what you need to do, make you feel comfortable with AML, give you AML confidence, make AML feel intuitive for you, and make sure you feel you've got your AML covered. Thank you very much. See you again.